Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston Station, we are ready for the event.
WBTS, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Raul Martinez from NBC 10 Boston. How do you hear me?
And Raul, we have you loud and clear. The International Space Station.
Well, thank you so much for doing this with us, guys. A couple Massachusetts ties here, so exciting to talk to you all.
It'll be great to talk to you as well.
Okay, Stephen, I want to start with you. You know, you're a veteran of this game. I just want to talk about what you all are doing up there, Expedition 69. Talk about your mission, where you are, and what you're hoping to accomplish right now.
Well, the International Space Station is just an incredible orbiting laboratory. You know, the science we do up here, there's hundreds of experiments going on at any given time. We sort of maintain this laboratory, but we're also part of the experiments as well. You know, we participate in a number of different ways in the experiments, and we help facilitate experiments, and this allows the research that goes on, which is really designed to make life better on Earth.
What has this experience been like for you? I mean, you're fairly new to this, so give people who have never been to space what it's like up there, what the experience is like. I mean, and if you want to float around and flip around while you're doing it, please, by all means.
Yeah, it's just truly, I feel truly lucky to get to have this experience. It's amazing getting to be up here. What an incredible life experience. As Steve said, we are, every day is different. We're always doing different things, whether it's scientific research or doing maintenance on the space station, sometimes going outside and doing maintenance outside the space station, taking care of ourselves. Every day is just different, and that's part of what makes it so much fun.
Stephen, I mean, you've had an interesting path to get to where you are. How does one become a submarine officer, you know, part of the Navy, and then you move on to become an astronaut? I mean, was this all part of the plan? I mean, how does this work?
I didn't plan on much of anything, I guess, but, you know, when you're a little kid and people are walking on the moon, you kind of think, wow, that'd be really amazing to do this, and then you never think you'd have the opportunity. But I had the opportunity to apply through the Navy back in starting in 1998, and I basically applied, and I was incredibly fortunate and incredibly lucky to have the opportunity and get selected. But it wasn't part of a larger plan, but I guess I had done nothing to preclude the opportunity, and that's sort of one of the things. You know, if you keep your eyes open, your ears open, you never know what opportunities you might have ahead of you.
I mean, Stephen, I can imagine it's day to day for you. Just because of where you are right now, but do you ever think long term, is this what you want to continue to do? Do you have different kind of plans? Is space kind of what is your goal from here on out? I mean, I know you have a family as well as home, so I mean, I can imagine they miss you as well, but I mean, this has to be quite the adventure. And where do you want to take this?
It's pretty amazing. You know, all my earlier flights were very short. Just having this opportunity to be on a long duration flight is incredible. I have incredible fortune being with an amazing crew, a great group of people. So I think that makes the experience really, really enjoyable. I do want to get home though. I really do miss my family. I really miss Earth, and we'll get home. We'll see what we want to do next after that.
Woody, what's the biggest challenge? I mean, when it comes up to there, I can imagine that you have a million different things that are difficult up there. And for you, outside of the challenges, the difficult tasks that you have to do every day, the concerns, what's the most exciting part of it? And I can imagine there's a million, but if you had to pinpoint one, what would it be?
Well, one that I've really enjoyed, we actually just a couple weeks ago did a couple of spacewalks, Steve and myself installed some new solar arrays outside the space station. And that's one of my favorite things because it's so challenging. There's an enormous team on the ground that does a remarkable amount of preparation getting ready for these spacewalks, planning them, running them in the neutral buoyancy lab in Houston to make sure that procedures are ready. But ultimately, going outside where there are some objective hazards and executing our mission to do some upgrades is just really super rewarding.
So I have to ask you both about, obviously, your local ties to Massachusetts. Stephen, you're a Cohasset man, pride of Cohasset High School, the Skippers. What was it like growing up there? Maybe a favorite place to go if you ever come back to visit, the thing you miss the most when it comes to your home state?
It was an incredible privilege growing up in Cohasset when I did. I always go back. I like the Common. Cohasset has that Common area, and that's just a fantastic place to visit. And obviously the beaches, and that sort of those sandy granite beaches is what I miss down in Texas. That's something I really like to go back and enjoy, and it's just a fantastic place to have the opportunity to grow up, and it's always nice to go back and visit.
Do you still have family out there? I mean, we're in Massachusetts. You want to give a shout out to any family or friends that are still home?
I got a lot of family still up there, not only in Cohasset but in Hanover and sort of the whole area. I've got relatives, and obviously I have friends all over New England. We always travel through there every summer, so it's a lot of fun to go back and visit, and I'm looking for the opportunity to get back up there in the fall. I was hoping that we'd be back celebrating a couple championships, but this past couple seasons haven't worked out. There's still hope for the Sox, though.
Well, Sox have been on a little bit of a slide, but we're keeping up hope here as well. It's funny. I mean, you're still a big sports fan? How you still Pats, Bruins, Celtics, and Red Sox fan? How you still keep up with it? Can you keep up with it up in space?
Not as much as we'd like, probably. If we ask, we can kind of get videos sent up, but the time is so different. Right now, we're about 4 hours ahead of y'all as far as our being awake time. So games tend to start when I'm already asleep, so I don't tend to stay up and watch games. But we keep track. We get our newspapers. Essentially, we can check the news when we want to, and so we just keep track of it that way.
So Woody, you're a graduate of MIT. Both of you guys are. What was your experience like in Massachusetts? Do you have a favorite professor or class you want to give a shout out to? Maybe a good memory that you have coming from the Bay State?
Yeah, actually, to this day, I've spent more of my life in Boston than in any other city. I went to MIT as an undergrad, spent 4 years there, and then later returned many years later as a faculty member at MIT. And I just love Boston. It's such a wonderful place. I always say it's both young and old at the same time. It's got so much amazing history, and then it's also a college town full of just that vibrant, youthful, like innovative spirit. And I love that combination, and just loved all the time I spent in Boston.
Stephen, how about you? MIT, what was it like back then? I mean, just different world, different time. Did you get your inspiration from there back when you were a student?
It's funny because as soon as Woody answered his question, I was agreeing with him that Boston has always had that, even when I was growing up, that sort of that youthful energy, but also the tremendous history. And I think Boston is also a great walking city. So having the ability to walk across a city, I did a lot of that when I was a graduate student at MIT. I really enjoyed doing that. And it's one of those places. I think I've dragged my kids all the way up Mass Ave once or twice. And I'm not sure they enjoyed that walk as much as I did.
Guys, it was a real privilege. Thank you so much for doing this and giving me the time. Great to talk to a Massachusetts man, a couple guys with ties to Massachusetts. A real privilege. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the time.
You're very welcome. Have a great day.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the WBTS portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from AccuWeather.
station. This is Christina Shalhoop with AccuWeather. How do you hear me?
Christina, welcome aboard the International Space Station. We have you loud and clear.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this today. We really appreciate you having us here with AccuWeather, joining you this morning. Or, it's pretty exciting to talk about all of this. And, let's get going with a question for both of you. Now, how would you describe life on the International Space Station? What are you experiencing on a daily basis for those of us who have never been to space before?
That's a really difficult question to answer because it depends on what you're thinking about. We're living in a laboratory, so as you see around here, there's cables and wires and everywhere. This is probably the module that is kind of maintained the least like that. We're usually surrounded by cables and wires and bags and stowage. We do have our own private areas as well, but the environment itself, we maintain the atmosphere as much as we can, like we do on Earth. The weightless environment does induce some issues, like things float away, and that creates the laboratory environment that we want to support as well. It's just amazing to live up here, and it's hard to describe. You get anything to add, Woody? I just don't even know what to say.
Yeah, this place is incredible. It's truly a national treasure. We've had astronauts living and working on the space station for over 22 years of continuous presence at this point. And so that fact is just remarkable to me, and it's really an honor to get to continue that tradition. In terms of how we spend our time, I like to think of it as kind of three main things. Number one, we are doing science. That's the purpose of the International Space Station. We're doing lots and lots, hundreds of scientific experiments at any given time. Number two, we're taking care of this place. So we have lots of maintenance and upgrades that we're continuously performing on the space station. And then number three, we have to take care of ourselves. So we do a lot of exercise. We have to eat, sleep, and spend time with each other because we're up here for 6 months. We want it to be a positive experience. So those three things are kind of how we spend our hours up here.
Now, we love firsts here at AccuWeather. So, Steve, this next one's for you. You are the first submarine officer selected as an astronaut. What an incredible accomplishment. How would you compare working underwater with working in space?
In a lot of ways, they're incredibly similar. A lot of our environmental and control systems, our life support systems, are incredibly similar or exactly the same as the ones we use on board submarines. And so that sort of environment is very similar. Up here, obviously, you want to keep the air in and the vacuum out. Underwater, you want to keep the water out and keep the air inside as well. And that's sort of one of the differences. The environment itself is very submarine-like. Obviously, the mission is different. But I usually joke and I say the view's better, but the food's worse.
I like that. That puts it in perspective for those of us back here on Earth. All right, now this one, Woody, I have to ask you, you competed as a teen in the American Rocketry Challenge. Was that what led to your desire to become an astronaut? Was it before? Was it after? How did that work for you?
Oh, no, that was very early on. I was, I guess, a nerdy kid in high school, spending a lot of time with something called the Tripoli Rocketry Association, and got really into the hobby of building these large rockets. I think growing up, like many kids, it was always in the back of my mind that being an astronaut just sounded like the coolest job ever. But I had no idea how to accomplish that goal. And so in that sense, it never felt quite realistic to me. And it wasn't until much, much later, actually when I was a young faculty member at MIT, a friend of mine just happened to mention, hey, NASA's accepting applications for astronauts. We should apply. And that was the first time when I thought, maybe I could actually apply to that. And so, and I feel incredibly fortunate that I was lucky enough to be selected. And so, yeah, I guess it was a childhood dream, but it took a little while to realize how to accomplish that goal.
Amazing. Now, both of you worked together recently in terms of other goals here, and I suppose necessities, to upgrade the ISS solar panels. How difficult was that? And even more so, how difficult were the spacewalks, hours-long spacewalks?
We were talking about this a little bit ago, and one of the things that actually makes it much easier than it should be is the incredible work that the ground does and the team as a whole preparing us for those spacewalks. So all the engineering that goes into it, all the planning and the execution and the procedures really allow us to go outside and, you know, providing that the suits work and the engineering was all worked, it all actually happens pretty well. And these spacewalks were very complicated in a lot of ways. And when we were developing them, they seemed really highly choreographed and not entirely intuitive as to how they were going to work, but they came together and they worked out really well.
Now, when we're talking about spacewalks, I mean, Steve, you've done a number of them. Woody, you've now got 2 under your belt. I'll direct this first question to Steve. Are each of them unique? Are they different? Or is it kind of like a rinse and repeat situation?
There's nothing there's nothing rinse and repeat about an EVA, that's for sure. I mean, I've only done 10. It's not like I've done 100. And every one of them was very different. And the amount of planning that goes into developing and putting them together is absolutely amazing. So they're each a unique experience. And, you know, sometimes on the first spacewalk we did during this increment, we had this idea that we were going to be able to take this piece apart outside, and it got stuck. And we ended up breaking off a bolt, and didn't execute exactly as planned, but it was still a good EVA and the amount of work we got done. But these ones were just very well put together, and everything worked the whole time.
I would say that's definitely the goal, to say the least. Now, Woody, you've been on 2 spacewalks just this month. How did the experience compare to the expectation?
Well, I guess I'll say up front, that was the coolest thing I've ever done. I feel so lucky to have gotten to go outside and do those spacewalks. It was remarkably similar to training. The training we receive on Earth in the Neutral Buoyancy Lab in Houston is not an exact replica of what it's like to be outside. For example, we have water drag in the pool, and when we're outside in the vacuum of space, everything moves a little more easily. But that training really prepared me. And so aside from the views being even more spectacular than I could have possibly imagined, I felt really well prepared. The other thing that I wish people could see is mission control on EVA day. It is just amazing. The teams of literally hundreds of people, back rooms, analyzing all of the information in real time, what's happening, watching video feeds, and then pulling all that information together to an effective and concise little communication up to us of what to do next. It's just a magical dance, and it's really cool to see.
I love that, a dance. What a great way to put that. Now, I have to ask you, final question for both of you here. AccuWeather covers so much astronomy. We have a lot of viewers and even just people who work here, like yours truly, who love to learn about the planets, about the stars. For the 2 of you, what is it like to be in space, away from the Earth, and closer to the planets and the stars?
Well, we're not that much closer, but when we do get the opportunity to look out, we have the cupola, and the cupola looks down at the Earth for the most part, and we get a bit of the horizon up, probably 15 degrees-ish or so. Yeah, we can see of space itself. It would be really nice to have a cupola on top so we could actually look into space when it's dark outside and just get this incredible view of the sort of the carpet of the stars that you can get, you know, out at sea or in the desert at times.
Yeah, as Steve said, we're here in low Earth orbit, so we are actually, I think, a lot closer to Earth than many people realize. We're about 250 miles above the surface of Earth. That sounds pretty far, but on the scale of Earth, we're actually quite close. And so, for example, when we look down at Earth, we cannot see the entire planet in a single view. We see the amazing curvature. We can look out and see the horizon, but we're actually pretty close. I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen this decade, where with the Artemis program, we're headed back to the moon, NASA that is, and the Artemis astronauts, when they go to the moon, are going to have that incredible view. They're going 39,000 miles away from Earth. So they will truly be far away from our home planet. And that vantage point is going to be truly spectacular.
Ah, amazing. Both of you, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you today.
It was great talking to you as well. Have a good week.
And station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes our event.
Thank you to all participants from WBTS Boston and AccuWeather. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.